Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming. I'm Dell and this is From the Depths, and I am sitting inside one of my little starter resource forts. So if I just pop outside of the engine room, so if we just get up and go out the door, go on, open the door, thank you, and go downwards please, thank you, let me out the door, let me out the door, let me out the door. May need to replace that door, I think. And then we go up the accelerator tube and we're out on the deck. So this is one of my little starter forts that I use. Fairly low in resources. Good can be built from the starting point. The starter fort that you get in the game. And a few little changes. So how's it made up? If I go into build mode, we've got our fortress thrusters just underneath the center. Now they're quite high up for a particular for a specific purpose, which I'll go through in a second. And we've got all of our resource gatherers and oil gatherers at the side, two sets, so they've got a hole all the way down so that we ensure they stay above the surface. And can keep pulling fuel down. And I have put a reasonably efficient new style engine there, which I won't go through, as I said before, until we're through on it's completed, but it's in there ready to work with enough power to keep us up and away from any nasties. Now we're actually out of the water here. If I bring the interface back on, whoops, wrong one, there we go. Sorry, there was the wrong pants, that one. Okay, so we've brought our interface. We're actually 12 meters above the ground. So ideally, actually, I'd like to go back to 0. So let's just go quickly back into the control room. So we go down the tube, through the door again. And I might have to change the direction of that door just to make it a little easier to go through. But we get in the chair, and then let's just take this down to 0. And I'll just let us come down. I don't need to be actually out anymore. So the idea being is that when it's sitting at a nice 0, it's effectively half of it's underwater, which does protect it a little bit from a lot of incoming fire. So as you can see, it's quite happily 0 is not a water line, but you know it's fairly close. If we put some weight on the top here, then that 0 point will go a little lower, which is partially intentional, so that we keep as much of the more vulnerable parts underwater and protected. So that's one of the starter fort we're starting with. My aim at in this episode is to make this into a slightly better starter fort. This is more akin to the original system, where we had all of our resources going into a single resource pool. Well, now we need some resource containers and a way and docking for ships to come in and take the resources and take them back out to the areas. And obviously I've got to make it look a little bit nice, and also defences. We're going to have a bit of defences in here to make it defendable on its own. If there's some future raiders come up for it. Now, defensively, it might have to basically go against a force of up to, say, 40 points, as an example. And it could be varied, could be aircraft, could be ships, you know, could be various vehicles. Now, we're going to do this in possibly 1 or 2 stages, so I've got some ready to spawn in to the campaign. One will be a starter point, which is going to be for most of the rear echelon points, which has got a relative amount of defences. Its main function is going to be docking of ships and that type of functionality. Then we're going to have our frontline defences, which is going to be lot more defences, heavily possibly armoured, more guns, missiles, the usual stuff, usual defensive type of stuff. And then we might do another one, which is going to be our home base one, which is our larger. Now, possibly, I suppose the ideas on this are, it's done as a fortress on this rather than doing it as a ship. A, because it's a stable platform, and the fortress controller is designed to automatically go into these resource points and work there. Now, the assumption we're going to make as far as defences go is that the front, which is actually that way, will always be faced towards the force coming in, and we'll try to prevent people going around the side and outflanking it, and we'll basically face our foes, for want of a better word. Always face your enemy, take them on head on type of situation. Then we need plenty of resources, or capacity for resources, so that it can build up its resources locally, ready to be taken away by ship. Now, it's going to be quite considerable, potentially. And we're going to need some docking facilities. We'll put some docking facilities for ships to come in, and maybe aircraft in the larger facility, just to take some emergency supplies. So we'll have to think about that. Don't need it. It's what I want to do. I think it would look good for the campaign. So, okay, and so we're going to need some defences. Now, I'm thinking this central part will be our command and control and main offensive weapons. I've got the idea of making not spire or tower, which is our primary attack and defence system. It seems to make sense to me. Sense may be the wrong word, but it sounds like fun to me anyway, at least. Let's put it that way. Okay, so first stages. I may time-lapse some of this as it goes through. So let's think. Let's lay some bits out. Now, assuming that this will go a little higher, I'm going to set our basic level out in wood, and then we'll see where we go from there. Now, one thing I'm going to use underwater, the water. This is underwater, so it doesn't all have to be floating. Some of this could be underwater as such. We have to allow for separation. We might need a more engines, although we've got the one engine in there. We might need more engines over time as the power requirement goes up. We have everything from shielding, obviously weapons, armour, ammo stores, all possibly using extra power. So we do need to allow for some of that and a little engine area. Okay, let me think. What sort of design do I like? And one thing would be nice is having it so that it's got couple of modes, in protected mode and unprotected mode. So let's see, we'll say that docking will be on the sides. No, I don't. No. Okay, let's say any docking ships, because I haven't got the ships at the moment, I don't know how big the ships are that will be docking will be as a point. So we'll have to assume that they'd dock at the end of this pier. We're going to make a pier here. So this is going to be the end of the pier. Somewhere around that far out. Okay, so we're going to try and fit everything else in. So all of our docking ships dock at the end of here. And to signify that, let's put a docking station there. Okay, so that's where our ships will dock effectively. Let's give this pier a little bit of depth to it now. So that's our docking pier as such. I might want to have that come around a little bit. Somewhere like that. I can fill that a little bit in there a little bit later. Just to, I'm here now, so I might as well do it. We do use a fair bit of wood, although armour up certain sections. Main reason is wood's and I've done that on the wrong level, doesn't matter. Woods, natural resources more available, which means, and also more repairable, which means it's going to repair quicker when if we get any damage in combat as such. So that's a dual reason for having it, or using it anyway. And if we do that, some nice steps up there into that particular area, which is fine. Come down there, over to here. We'll just give that a little bit of a slightly wider berth. If we've done that on both sides, don't need it, but that's fine. So we're going to have our pier here. We're going to need to go out a little bit more, assuming we've got quite a few, you know, could be quite a large ship coming into dock in there with the centre of the ship coming in. And we could always have this, so this would be the docking point, so it comes in at a 90-degree azimuth. We'd have to sort out the exact distance. Okay, so let's sort out some other bits. Now what we could have is, let's say our engine room, if we need an extra engine room, we'll have it coming down here and off the back. We've got the central engine room there, so we'll prepare for this second engine room. We'll create another shaft to go down, similar to we have on the opposite side. So it's a little shaft down that our avatar can make his way down to the bottom. And if we don't use it for the engine room, we can use it for something else. Okay, so finished a rough starting layout. I know I started with just talking about putting an extra engine area, and then I just carried on and went mad, as you would expect from me. So just a quick run through of what we've got. So I did put in the extra area down the bottom here for whatever we're going to need. We've got extra engine room or just extra storage as we need it. We've got a little bit of space in here near the main centre. It could be ammo production, etc. Next, above that, I started putting in, or created, our natural resource area and crystal. So we've now got 3 million storage of natural, and crystal is at 244k, so that's more than enough, I think, as a starting area. Then we got another area, so this is, again is underwater, so it will protect it a little bit, and this is going to be our metal and scrap. So down here we have our metal containers and our scrap containers, so we're now up to 2.6 million metal, and scrap is 724,000. I thought that was enough scrap. We don't need much more than that, I don't think, at the start. And then we have a bit of a gap. I might reinforce this a little bit, because if this takes a hit and gets blown off, lose everything would be bad. So I'll put a couple of extra struts in here. But then we have our oil storage system on the side, you know, a little bit of protection for it. Okay, it's one layer of wood, but again, something like the Deepwater Guard, or just to protect it from that first hit, that should be good enough. Our oil storage above and below, so it's going to be relatively easy to expand that, because, you know, we can just increase the height of this, and we've even got room down the centre, so we've got room to expand that. And on this side we have our fuel with our fuel production unit, which at the moment is just a single fuel processor, but that's all our fuel storage, separate from everything else, because at the moment it's not explosive, but I'm thinking if that explodes in the future or sets fire, we want it separate from everything else. Again, I'll strut this up a little bit so that one hit doesn't separate the whole of this end part. Then we've got our docking area. We've put some little protection mooring buoys on here, and we have our little crane, so when we do dock something to our system, and I'll just need to bring in the raft, So when a ship gets docked to us, let's see, we'll dock the ship in. It always takes us back there when you're not in build mode, and when it docks in there, then hopefully, if all things go to plan, the crane will go over and take off all the resources, and that will just keep on working. So just a little bit of extra, why not? So what have I got next? Next is protecting this little area, because we've got to keep it protected. Otherwise, you know, there's no point if it's just going to get blown up straight away every time we get even a slightest little person coming in and giving us a little pelt with a bullet. So we've got some area. We can obviously use some of this decking area we've got out here, and obviously we're going to build up on this turret. Now what I'm thinking is stack some turrets. Now I'm not going to stack them with light blocks, because that gets a little susceptible to being hit. I think I will stack them though, and build them up on here, possibly so they've got at least a 90-degree facing towards the enemy coming from that theoretical direction, and maybe put some more guns maybe on the deck area here, to give us some side protection, or maybe AA guns over here. So resource wise, we are still relatively okay. We're not massive, so we're going to keep the size of these defensive guns down. We don't need really large guns here. This is only going to be a first level fort, so we only got to think about defending against, I think, Deepwater Guards, and maybe possibly Onyx Watch type level of ship. Maybe Onyx Watch may be a little high actually, but well, no, potentially Onyx Watch. Some of the smaller Onyx Watch ships. So we're going to look at a largish gun for against the Onyx Watch. Maybe some missiles. Actually, some missiles wouldn't be a bad thing to use against some of these targets, but maybe at least a cannon that we could then adapt depending on what our enemy is, using the new advanced cannons, and that's where our new decking area could come in. Our area below can actually be our ammunition deck. And we can work through that. So let me come up with some guns here, and then I'll bring you back when I've got something to work with, and we'll see how we go. So see you shortly. And welcome back to the armoured version of the fortress. And as you can see, what started as just a little gun or so has ended up a little bigger. As happens, so the resource points and the value of this has gone up significantly. Yeah, it's not humongous, but it's still now quite large, shall we say? But that's part of the idea, to make this more defensive. So it can now hold itself against a variety of still lowish level. We haven't got anything too drastic here. Just to go through roughly, we've got a nice 29mm cannon here with just simple ammo. We haven't got anything too fancy, so it fires at a reasonable rate. Basically it's a simple composite and HE shell. We'll have a look at the shells in a bit. And then we've got some flak cannon at the back, where they're dual purpose. They're a HE flak gun designed to basically take out air targets, but they'll also act as a secondary weapon if something is on the sea. Then we have some laser guided missiles, which are just an all-round missile to laser designated rather than infrared at the moment, just to go for any targets, both air and sea targets, just about anything. Fairly simple explosive, frag, EMP, a bit of a mix. Fast, but not too fast. You know, they can go after fastish air targets, but we're nothing really special. Some missile interceptors, just to give us a little bit of an anti-missile ability on the top, and that's about it, really. So, in the battle, we'll give it some Deepwater Guard. How about a Marauder? Let's just give it a quick Marauder just to see how it goes. So you can see they actually turn within the turret system, so it does give it a 90-degree limit, and that's dead already. So they're quite good. Let's go something a little bit bigger then. Plunderer. I think people use the Plunderer often as a test ship. Let's see how this works. So our Flack Guns are firing. We've got some shields. These side shields aren't that strong. The front one is a 10. The sides are just 5s. And in actual fact, they might have to go a little bit lower because the way the engines work with heat, I don't think they can sustain that power. They are at the moment, so we'll leave it. That's okay. They did actually sustain it, so that's fine. And they took out that Plunderer without too much problem. So. Yeah, and this is at close range. Normally, I would start the engagement at a few thousand, 1,000 meters out or so. So just to show what that would be like, we'll give it a Deepwater Guard out somewhere over here. What range are we at? 1,500 meters. That's a good starting range. So let's just load something in. So loaded a Stalwart in. Let's see how it can do against this. And we've got some good shots in already. Missiles are now coming in. A little bit short, I think, or they trying to. Unfortunately, their target is under the water, which is always annoying with the Onyx ships, but doesn't matter. We're taking a bit of damage, but we're just to see where could it defend itself. It's got good repair ability, so I'm not too worried on that. The Stalwart's a tougher ship than I would expect to be coming in on us, to be frankly honest. But it is, yep, it's having a go at it, and it's fairly much reduced that to scrap. Yeah, that's quite good. And looking at our gun, our main gun has got, I think some of it's hitting this Marauder on the way through. No wonder it wasn't getting through. So our main gun, yeah, it's getting a good 1.7 rate of fire. Not massive, but good enough. And that's it done. So we can tell a Stalwart's quite an impressive ship to be going against, and we could always spawn in something else just to give it a little bit of protection. So yeah, that's the level 1. Now the next level up, I think, will just be expanding on the dock areas generally, and we might put some smoke and other items up there. We can see we've got quite a few wrecks around here at the moment. We might have to have I think we'll have to have a bit of a clear out of some of the wrecks. There we go. Just let the guns shoot as they will. Just see them if they can clear off all the items that are out here. So next, whilst they're doing those, next on the list then is to build some ships to come in and basically meet up with this resource point. It's a resource fort, but it's more a resource resupply point. So we need some ships to be able to dock up here, and an aircraft as well. So that is what I will be looking at next. So resource points for the new campaign with localized resource gathering, and of course lots of big guns and missiles and stuff, because it's from the depths and everything has to go boom. So until next time, hit that like button, please hit the like button. I like to be liked. And of course, have fun.